This is the one that I've already done, yeah, I'll demonstrate this on the leg. So basically, if you feel in, you can feel the bone ends here, and there's the tendon going up the hamstring. So there's a big flappy bit of skin there in between the tendon and the upper leg bone, and you can literally just snick your knife in enough. Don't want to go all the way through, but just enough to make a little hole. This is why it's important to have a sharp knife, because it's a surgical cut that we're making, not just thrashing away at the skin, because we really want to look after it. And then I'm just going to come up onto this midline here. So I'm just going to come around a little bit at a time, making it easy. I like to use my fingers a lot. Good skinners, they don't use the knife much. We have to use it here because we're negotiating a physiological problem, as it were, a little challenge. But when we get to the body, we'll just be pushing the skin off with our hands, because we don't want score marks on the inside of the skin. Again, this is something that's very common if we're getting our skins from deer stalkers. You know, there's a little, this is me not being observant. There's a mark there. This deer actually incurred an injury on its leg when it got hit by the car. So now I've got 2 holes. I could stitch that with sinew when I'm going to work the skin later, but what I'm going to do, because it's so close to my little knuckle here, I'm actually going to come around that and use that cut as my other cut. So I'll ignore that for now. That's not a big problem. If it was right in the middle of the leg, say here, then I have to stitch it with sinew, otherwise it's just going to rip and rip and rip as the skin is worked. Now we can work a little quicker, but I've got to be careful, you know, sometimes the knife will spin off on a funny angle. What I'm also aware of is that under here is another fantastic resource. You can see it on this leg, the sinew, the tendon that runs up either side of the leg. This stuff is as strong as steel almost. It's amazing. We can make all sorts of cordage and bowstrings and stitching and useful things from that. So I'll be taking the sinew from the leg and drying that out later as well. And then we can see this really does become an honouring of the kill. This is maximising the amount of use that we can get from this animal. It's passed on as a fact of life. It's a tragic event in many ways. The road out here is very busy. We see a lot of dead deer around here. It's my preference to live in that reality and to actually say, well, let's do something good with the animal, you know. We can eat the meat, we can eat some of the internal organs, we can use the skin for clothing, we can use the skin for rawhide, for cordage, and for drum skins, and for containers. Most of my skins get used as show and tell pieces for children and adults who never get to go anywhere near a deer, so that's a really nice thing. Open people's awareness to nature and connect them. There we go. So this tends to happen. This front tendon is very stuck on the skin, less so on the bone, so I've actually got to try and separate that out now, and that's where I don't want to cut the skin. So look, a really, really gentle surgical cut with the knife. I'm not pushing at all here, just letting the knife do the work. Because if I push, I'm going to put a cut right in the middle of that skin. Very, very difficult, this. Very important not to rush these things. Typically, I'm right in the middle of doing my tax return at the moment. About 5 days to go. And then this happens, and guess what takes preference? So I end up doing this instead. There we go, that's better. That's separated that out. There's a couple of little bits of tendon there, but we'll sort those out later. That's good enough down to here for now. I'll return back up to this knuckle, and look, just using my fingers, I can just run around, separate that out a bit. I've exposed the hole now. My thumb going through it with a stick. And yeah, I'll just have a quick look at that little bit of damage. There's that hole. So if I just run that up here, and I can always trim this off a bit better later, and then I'll come down the other side here. Look, here we go. So then I'm coming into the other side of the hop joint now, and that's basically going to do for now. And you can see the blood. I haven't got that here. On this one it's all clear. The blood on the inside, we can see that's come from an injury, from a hit, and there's a little bit of a blood clot there. Blood is the first thing, the quickest thing to putrefy through the bacterial action that's going to kick in when the animal dies. So in terms of keeping the meat fresh, you know, we've got to really look out for that kind of thing and be aware that it can present a problem for us if we're not getting to the meat early enough in that cycle.